taking place right now as we speak in Wisconsin. Voters are headed to the polls where they can help pass two constitutional amendments to help bolster election integrity in their state. The first measure would ban the use of private money to run elections. The second proposal would require that only election officials who are designated by law can administer elections. So the polls are open until 8 o'clock p.m. Central Time, so there's still time for those of you in Wisconsin to head to the polls, and we encourage you to do so. Well, joining me now to discuss this is Trevor Carlsen. He's a senior research fellow at the Foundation for Government Accountability. Trevor, welcome back to the program. Great to see you.
Thank you, Congressman Heiss. It's great to be with you.
All right, well, let's talk about these two provisions in order. Question one, about the use of private funds. This obviously coming from the Zuckerbucks that poured into the 2020 elections. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so as folks might be well aware, there was this grant program that was orchestrated by an organization called the Center for Tech and Civic Life, CTCL, and they were using nearly $500 million, $400 million, I think was one of the initial gifts from Mark Zuckerberg and one of his foundations to distribute money to election offices in the 2020 election under the guise of being supposed to be used for protecting people from transmission of COVID-19, and it was during the pandemic. What we found, though, was that, and this is the concerning part, is that very few of those dollars, when we looked at grant reports that these jurisdictions submitted after the fact, went to things like PPE, and a large share ended up being used for get out the vote efforts. And if you have nefarious intentions, a organization can then take those, unequally distribute grant dollars to jurisdictions that they deem to be important for outcomes that they prefer, and it puts the thumb on the scale of election outcomes and can drive up voter turnout in areas where they will get the benefit that they're looking for in terms of outcomes.
So the proposal today would prohibit those type of outside funds?
Exactly, and it's following on the heels of what 27 other states have already done. Wisconsin would be the 28th, and it's important to note Wisconsin was actually ground zero for Zuckerbucks back in 2020, even before Mark Zuckerberg and his wife made their donation to CTCL. The big five municipalities in Wisconsin were already in conversations about getting private funding. At the time, they were talking about $6.3 million. After Mr. Zuckerberg's money was added to the pot, that climbed to eventual 8.5 for those five jurisdictions alone, out of the 10.1 total that that was spread throughout Wisconsin.
Wow. All right, the second question on the ballot today deals with only election officials designated by law can perform the election proceedings. How important is that one?
That's extremely important, and you would think that it wouldn't have to be said that the clerk of elections should be the one running elections, but in 2020 in Green Bay, there was an issue where the mayor's office was getting involved, and they even had a outside consultant who was really a Democratic operative who was engaging in, offering to help with the curing process for ballots, and was reportedly also giving keys. It should be that the election officer whose jurisdiction it is to run the elections should be the one administering them, and not having outside players participating in decision making, and sort of when it comes down to trust as well, in that Absolutely. When you have these outside impacts, influencers, it's going to distort people's view of whether or not an election is actually being conducted as it was intended to be.
Real quickly, we've only got about a minute or so. Any sense for the popularity of these referendums? Do you have a prediction? Are they bipartisan? What do you think is going to happen?
They're certainly bipartisan. Pennsylvania is a state that has a Democratic governor, and they were, they've enacted a ban like this. Virginia, the Commonwealth of Virginia, the Democratic Senate, back when they passed it, it went through without any problems. It's election integrity is a bipartisan issue. It's a nonpartisan issue. Americans want their elections to be free from outside influence, and they want the election outcomes to be, let the voters vote and the outcomes be what they may.
Absolutely. Trevor Carlsen from the Foundation for Government Accountability. Always great to talk with you. Thanks for this update tonight.